Hi there and welcome to the Dawn Show. Dawn Stensland-Menti here. Well, today, as you know, is President's Day, but did you know that initially President's Day was known as Washington's birthday and honored our first Commander-in-Chief? We'll find out some other interesting things from a founding father of the United States of America. With us today, though, General George Washington is here in the House, portrayed by Samuel Davis. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here, Dawn.
I love that it's President's Day. This is the coolest thing ever, and we have, General George Washington in the House. So, kids are off school today, and I know that you are a retired school teacher, even though you taught science. But why is it important to you to educate people about George Washington patriotism? Why does that matter to you so much?
It's very important because the United States wouldn't be the United States if Washington didn't do what he did. Crossing the Delaware that night on December 26th with the Battle of Trenton turned around the tide of tyranny from Britain. He gave up everything for that cause. To teach the students of the United States exactly what he did is very important to me as a teacher, as a citizen, and as a patriot.
Well, and I think people don't realize that Washington, as well as many of our founding fathers, were really wealthy men. I mean, by today's standards, he would have been worth about $500 million.
Right.
So this was a wealthy man who everybody loved and supported. Moving on, he could have been king. He could have been a dictator. So it's amazing to think, well, what kind of person was he? If you try to get inside of his head, that he gave all that up and risked his life.
He did. He was a wealthy man, like you said. He married Martha Washington, or Martha Custis, and he gained wealth automatically. But the cause was so just for him. When the Second Continental Congress called him to be the Commander-in-Chief, he knew that there was no one else. I believe divine intervention gave him the opportunity to be the Commander-in-Chief. One person said that he would never quit the Army because of Washington. Because Washington, he gave up everything for that cause. Mm-hmm. The fight against tyranny, the fight for liberty and freedom. And to me, everyone in the United States, no matter whether it's a one-year-old little boy or girl, all the way up to a person that's 100 years old, they must know exactly what Washington did to turn around everything. Because we have to remember that the colonists were free from Britain for 150 years. They were here in America for 150 years before the king started to put the stranglehold on the colonists.
We're talking about taxation. He started figuring out he could make some tax dollars.
So exactly, because it was the king wanted the colonists to pay for the French and Indian War, and we didn't mind paying the taxes. It was just the way he went about getting the taxes that made us a little upset.
So taxation without representation, in other words.
That's right. Patrick Henry.
Yeah. So, but when you think about it, moving forward, we are in Black History Month. I mean, Washington was a slave owner.
He was.
And so we hear about this conflict.
That's true. He was a slave owner, but he knew it was wrong. And when in the House of Burgess, he tried to get that turned around, as did Thomas Jefferson. His slaves, he used to call his people. He would treat them very well. They actually put him in debt because he fed them and he clothed them properly, like any good man should. He knew right from wrong, as we all know today. And I believe, this is my personal belief, that if he did turn the tide and the culture back then, as president, he might have been able to free the slaves. It bothers me.
Because he was a slave owner, 300 slaves, and I can see where it bothers you.
It
because
does bother me.
it was
As a teacher and as a person who believes in freedom, it does bother me. And it is hard for me to talk about that.
Yeah.
But let me just say one thing. Washington always looked at his slaves not as animals, as a lot of people did, as many people did, but he looked at them as people. He never would separate a family. That was against his belief. And if it were up to him, I know he would free his slaves. When he died, he put in his will that his slaves, not his wife's slaves, because they were not his to free, or to set free. He set his slaves free when he passed away.
So he put that in his will.
He put that in his will.
It blows your mind to talk about that in today's terms, and for little kids, it's alien.
It's a touchy area that
it's hard to even, it blows our minds. I mean, to think about it. But I think it's good to learn from history and look at history. Obviously,
yes.
We're going to continue more with George Washington on this President's Day. We'll be right back.